Isaiah Morfin, how did you get selected to perform today in the Bill Wright Jr.'s memorial service?
Well, Joy is my cousin once removed, and I just found out the actual term right now. As I always just known Joy, and she sang with me and many times, and she's family, so. Yeah.
Well, you're really good.
Thanks.
But you're always good. Hey, thanks for being here.
Hey, yeah, no problem.
So you worked with Bill for many, many years ago. How did you first meet him, and any thoughts?
I first met him up in Seattle, Washington, at Totem Lake Ford Toyota. He was there working for his father, and I looked at him. We talked. An incredible guy. Always wanted to learn more. Wanted to do this. Wanted to do that. It was fabulous. It was really, really fabulous. Nice young man.
What was the most surprising thing about Bill?
How he adapted to everything so easily, and he was on the team, always on the team.
Well, my name is Joe Dendy, and I met Bill here in church. We were at New Life here together for a short time, and then we moved down to Life Point. We started that church there. And Bill and I shared the same classes at San Diego State. So we'd always talk about the professors and what they thought of them. And yeah, Bill was a joy. It was a real pleasure to be his friend and to know him. Gonna miss him.
Any special memories that you have of Bill?
Well, he did look at me several times and said, "That's not your best look." I remember that. A great guy. Thank you.
My name is Michael Thompson. I went to work for Bill Wright Toyota in 1974. I met Bill in '78 when I was running Sierra Toyota. He came up with his father, Bill Sr., and said that he was going to be my boss. That's what Bill Sr. said. We've had a very lucrative 2 years. Bill Jr. came to me and said, we're going to work together, and he never made me feel like I was inferior. He always supported everything I did, and I'm going to miss him terribly. We just had lunch about 4 or 5 months ago, and the problem is it was his turn to buy. So I'm going to miss him dearly regardless, but thank you very much for your time, and we love you, Bill.
Oh, Richard Gauthier and I, in fact, we were just talking about it. I've known the Wright family for many years. I went to school with Fred, graduated from high school with Fred, and worked at Bill Wright Toyota for 10 years. And a lot of great times. Bill and Fred, good friends. And I have to say, this was the most inspiring funeral celebration of life that I have ever been to. And Bill was a great guy. He was everything everybody said he was. The family and the kids did a fabulous job. Very happy to be a part of this event, this moment, and to be a part of Bill's life and to know Bill.
I'm Brian Perez, son-in-law.
And I'm Andrea Perez, his daughter.
And I remember the first time I met Bill, I should say when I met the whole family, I was over at the house and Bill wanted me to clean his pool. And the funny thing was, all the rest of the family didn't know who I was. And they said, how did you get the pool guy to come on the weekend? And she had to interrupt and said, that's actually my boyfriend. So I got to meet the whole family in that way, which I love the whole family. I love Bill, generous man, caring man. Can't say enough about the man.
Hey, I've only known him for 30 plus years, and I learned a lot today that I didn't know. Any special wishes or thoughts you have?
I love Bill. He was always like a father. I never considered him a stepfather. He was my father. Always giving me words of encouragement and always told me how proud he was of me. He was Yeah, he always called me on the phone randomly. He, like Aaron was saying, he never texted, never. He always called me on the phone, always called me at work. But you know what? I would just have him on the phone, doing my work, talking to him on the phone for like 20, 30-minute conversations. But that was Bill, and I just, you know what? But I'm going to miss those phone calls. I will miss those phone calls. So, yeah.
My name is Lance. I'm actually Bill's son-in-law. I was Kanan's husband. I met him, 30 years ago at Sierra Toyota. Always remember the man. He was an inspiration to my life and to our whole family. We just love Bill, and I'm gonna miss him. I don't know what else to say.
Your wife's comments on the stage today.
Amazing.
Yeah.
She did a great job. She really did. That's a meaningful thing. The way she,
She had me as soon as she started the baseball game.
Oh yeah, of course, NLCS. Justin Turner. I mean, you can't get better than that. So yeah, it was great. It was great to see. So thank you. Yeah.
I am Nancy Marie Cochran, Reed Chase Hayes, because Joy has known me all these years. And when Joy called me and said, "Hey Nancy, you're not going to believe it. I'm going to get married again." And I said, "What? Who is this guy?" And she said, "It's Bill Wright Jr. and I just love him and he's so sweet and you're going to love him too." And I said, "Then go for it." So that's how Bill Wright Jr. came into my life. Wow. What else do you want to know? I love you, Joy.
Whoops, that was good. That was good. And here's the guy that has a really, really cool tie. Did you wear this just because of Bill Wright Jr.?
The tie itself? No, it's because the green matched the green.
And what's your name, sir?
Gary Tobin.
How did you first meet Bill?
I met Bill when I came into the San Diego church when I was 15 years old. And Bill is about almost exactly 10 years older than I am. He was one of the first pastors that I had known. And he was, like everybody else has made the point, he was the one that encouraged everybody. So I was a musician back then, and Bill wanted to, and still am, Bill wanted to learn guitar and at some point, and we both got Goodall guitars, and from our friend Jim Goodall that built them down there. And I was engaged in music ever since I was quite young. And so I was showing Bill how to play and taught him how to play guitar, and that was kind of our bond for the years. And then certainly bought cars from him, Bill Wright Toyota, like a lot of folks here have. And just stayed in contact with him, and Rod Fink's a mutual friend, and just had these guys that were good sounding boards for me for years and years, and Bill was one of them.
I'm Mike Evans. I met Bill, I believe, at one of his dad's Christmas parties or at church, I'm not sure which. I've known him for over 25 years. He was one of my board members at my ministry, and was just a fun guy. Always enthusiastic, fun stories I could tell about him. One time, my wife and I were going to buy this used car, and Bill had a 94 Camry, and he said, "I'll sell you this car on one condition, that you give it back to me whenever you're ready to sell it." So we kept it for a few years, but he would always ask me, "How's my car doing? You're taking good care of my car?" And I'd say, "Yeah, okay." So finally we got ready to sell it. He bought it back, and I think he gave it to one of his kids. But that was just the kind of a guy he was. He was generous, he was fun, he was always very enthusiastic and supportive about whatever I was doing. So he was just one of a kind. He was a good buddy.
I was waiting for the story is he bought it back at the same price he sold it to you.
Yes, I think he did, actually. I remember that. It's a good thing you brought that up, because he told me, "I will buy this back at the same price I sold it to you." So it was good.
So my name's Tanya Nacky, and I met Bill through our church, Life Point Church, and And one thing I love about Bill, well, he was definitely a talker, but he didn't talk about himself. He was always into what was going on in your life. And I remember as I had health issues this last year, and he had health issues, I could hardly find out how he was doing because he was so concerned about my health issues. And that was Bill. He was selfless in many ways, and always thinking, and I know Tom talked about this during the service, always so much vision and wanting to help, and so interested in what's going on in your life and getting you to where you need to be. So Bill was amazing, and he will be greatly missed.
I'm Bill Baker.
Yeah, you're one of our guest speakers today, correct?
Yes, yes.
How were you selected to be the guest speaker?
I've known Bill since junior high, and I was his physician and a close friend. We were in church together. And we were in Young Life together in high school and very close. We were in the Ascots, a service club together. We went hunting together. We did everything together. And we were very close throughout high school. College separated us a little bit. He went to San Diego after BC, and I stayed and went to BC. Then I went to San Diego. He was a year ahead of me there. And then we reconnected. We were involved in the Church of the Living Word, which is a very active ministry. We'd go to 8, 10, 12 services a week, and we lived together in a communal home for about a year and a half, 3 couples, and then his younger sister Sandy lived with us for about a year.
Sounds like a whole body of history together. What stands out to you? Either it can be a funny moment or a serious moment. What stands out when you think of Bill?
I think Bill, I think they used the word sincere. Bill was always, he was very humorous and could make light of anything because he was so positive and so sincere and so confident. And that was largely due to his faith. He was an outgoing person by personality, and people alluded to that today, how he could carry a conversation. So it was always fun to be around Bill. But in our relationships, when he was convinced of something, then he was convinced of something, and there wasn't any changing his mind. He had that sense of assurance that most people don't have. He didn't have a lot of insecurity or worry. As his physician, it was challenging because Bill had some complicated problems, but he was very his scientific mind and all his education, like other professionals, he was very sensitive and aware of what was going on with him. So we had a very close dialogue about lots of little things with regard to his health care. And as he got ill, it was just hard. It was just hard because, but Bill was graceful, and the last time I visited with him, I got him to laugh and joke and talk about. He liked to fish, sports fish, caught some really big fish. He was a really good athlete. If his dad had let him play football, he probably would have been a football star, as well as a tennis star. And those things that he remembered were enjoyable, exciting, and fun things. And those are very vivid in his mind. And we had a lot of fun in the last couple of evenings when I was with him. And I'll always remember those things.
Well, thank you, and sorry for your loss.
Thank you. I appreciate that very much. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Rod Fink. I met Bill at San Diego State. We were part of Campus Crusade for Christ, and we got to connecting, and then we started.
Got some photo bombers here.
The photo bomb. We basically started really being led to inquire about the Lord. What was the deal with the Holy Spirit? If God wanted to, He could restore all the gifts and ministries and just like in the early church. And so we actually made that statement, and we had no idea there was this whole thing going on. At the time it was called the Jesus People movement, but there was a revival going on. And so we started getting into a Lutheran church that was charismatic. Can you believe that? Anyway, it was part of the hippies were finding the Lord, and it was really a beautiful time. We wound up, Bill Baker and Bill Wright and myself, our wives. We moved together into a communal home. We actually shared a bank account. Everybody put their money in. And we had a lot of good experience. For 1 year, we had a really good time, and we were still friends afterwards.
That's got to be amazing.
That was amazing. I had come back from Vietnam. I had pretty severe PTSD, and Bill was there for me when I needed him. One time we're driving down on El Cajon Boulevard. I'm driving my VW bus, and Bill was with me. And I heard a noise, and I jumped under the steering wheel. And Bill grabbed the wheel, and he said, "Rod, put on the brakes." And oh yeah, I forgot. You know, I had severe PTSD, and Bill was there to help me through these times because I really had some serious issues that came after that. When 12 years ago, I got cancer from Agent Orange, and I didn't know it was cancer. The local doctor had said it was viral bronchitis, and Bill said, "You need to get to the emergency room." So I drove down to the VA, I got an x-ray. I'm driving home, and they said, "Mr. Fink, you've got to get back here right away and get an MRI." And so they had a schedule for an MRI for a week and a half. And that was Monday. By Friday, I could barely breathe. And Bill said, "Just go to the emergency room." When I got in there, they said, "It's a good thing you came in. You had about a week to live." And they immediately started me on chemo, and I wound up getting a bone marrow transplant up in Seattle. And basically, the rest is history. I'm still here. I'm 11.
Yeah, I was going to comment. You're still here.
11 years in remission. But yeah, Bill and I have been such close friends. Always connecting up, going on vacations together. We had some good times, different things that we did together. But it was always a thing of a focus to talk about what is the Lord telling you. And I think that was important for me to have somebody to bounce off. He was my go-to doctor, you know, when I needed physical, and then sometimes there was emotional things I was going through, and he was a real help to me, and I was a help to him. But really good friend, and sad to see him go, but I'm jealous, actually, so.
Thank you, and also thank you for your service.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
My name is David Kokas, and I met Bill Wright in 1971. We're involved in the same church together, and we became pastors in that church. And the one thing I remember about him is just the caring heart he had for people, and the way he was so concerned about people's issues and helping them out. So the bond that was formed between us back in those days has stayed strong after all these years. Physically, I haven't been around him. We've lived in different cities, but that bond in the ministry remains still with me today. So, very loving man, and just a really good friend.
Thanks for being here today.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Mike Doolittle, and Bill and I played tennis at Foothill. It was so frustrating because he was so much better than the rest of us. And then I moved on to Bakersfield Junior College and played tennis, and wouldn't you know it, the second year I was there, he comes up and he's better than me at BC. He and Robert Slayball, who actually got him to go to Foothill in the first place. Just really enjoyed him, but I couldn't beat him. Is that good?
Thank you. Yeah,
okay.
That's great. Yeah.
When our church did a marriage retreat up in, I think it was Old. Do you remember the marriage retreat? She didn't get to go. Old Oak Ranch, and it was just, he was there with his wife Joy because she was doing our worship, and he talked to my husband about diabetes because my husband has type 2 diabetes, and he gave him so much advice and encouragement over and how to, keep it under control. And ever since then, he was just the nicest man, funny as all get out. And he cared so much about people. And he made you feel welcome. every time you saw him. He was just awesome.
Hi, my name's Chris Van Dyke. Hi, Joy. Loving you guys today. I met Bill years ago back on council at Life Point Church, and it was always a blessing to hear him talk about wild ideas that he had coming up for ways to make money at church and how to help people. It was really a pleasure. And I always laugh when I saw him because he would come up to me and he would take me by the hand and he would kiss my hand and say, "I love Ireland." And I think that only happened after I discovered that I was 55% Irish. So now that I know that he really loved Ireland, now I see the draw. But he was always a delight and a pleasure. We'll miss him.
My name is Stacy Houts, and I met Bill at Life Point Church. He actually, when they first started the radio show with Pastor Tom, he asked me to become one of the guests. And at first I said, no, I will not. And then he said, oh, I'll get you at some point. And he did. He did. He finally got me on as a guest for the show. So I really enjoyed doing that. And I was a single mom for over 10 years. And every time that Bill would see me and my girls, I have 2 girls at church, he always made time to come over and make sure that we felt welcome and that the girls felt loved by a safe man in their life. And so I can never thank him enough for that. And we miss him dearly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, my name is Jordan Grant, senior. This is junior here. Anyway, I got a call from my sister Joy, and in 2001, I believe it was, and she said, well, a friend and I are coming through Gold Beach. I live in Oregon, going through Gold Beach. I said, well, why didn't you stop and see me? She said, oh, we had things to do, you know, and I said, well, who is this guy? She said, just a friend. Well, the next thing I heard from her, they had set a date to get married. So I said, more than a friend, huh? So Joy, his wife, is my sister's.
Joy, your sister?
Yes.
Oh, I love your sister.
Yeah, she's great. She's great. I happen to love her too.
Okay. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
Larry Morgan, and I first met Bill Wright at a little family party. My cousin, Joy Grant, had married him. And so that was Bill Wright. First thing I thought of him was, Bill Wright, Toyota? You married Bill Wright, Toyota? Anyway, got to know him, and his son-in-law does a lot of work for us, and it's great to meet a great man, and I think it was really good for Joy, and together they've made a great family.
So how did you enjoy the services today?
I thought it was awesome. The music was great. My 4 cousins sang. They hadn't sang in 30 years together. We grew up with them singing in the church with their mom, playing the piano, and it was pretty nice to see them back. How many years? Like 30 years ago singing. That was pretty nice. Pretty old school songs written in the 1800s, you know. Balm of Gilead, they sang. I thought that was going to blow up on us or something, but I actually didn't mean that, but that's what you'd think if you didn't know what they were singing. They had to have a little bit of old English culture to understand some of those songs.
Well, thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
Yeah, good to see you.
Well, my name is Jonathan Morgan, and I met Bill Wright at the engagement party for Joy and Bill, and didn't know them very well, but he seemed like a very likable person at the time. But later on, as we got to spend some time together, I found out he was, just as they said this morning, very enthusiastic, very caring towards other people. And it wasn't, in the conversation with him, it wasn't about him. And that's always impressive when you find some people that are not always talking about themselves. But he was interested in what you were doing. And but he's always very kind. I remember him speaking very softly and very thoughtfully. And you see the tenderness and the kindness come through when I talk to him. And being a pastor, I run into a lot of different people, and he was one of the good ones. And so I really enjoyed him, and he encouraged Joy to come back over to our church and sing for us occasionally. And they did, and of course he would sit and listen and always say, well, that's a great job. And she usually did a great job. So it was a wonderful time that we had together.
Hi, I'm
Lynn Cicchini. I'm a friend of Joy's from high school. I met Bill when she first married Joy, and we had a few events together at the Stars Theater. My mother and Bill and Joy and another couple. We had a wonderful time. He was extremely generous, fun, loving. Joy seemed like she was as happy as I've ever seen her. And this day is a day of celebration. And I pray for all of you. I love you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak. Okay?
My name is Jordan Grant Jr. I think you've already talked to my dad, Senior. I met Bill through my Aunt Joy, my dad's sister, and Bill's wife, through many different family gatherings. And what I would like to say about Bill, from my experience, is that Bill always showed up. He was there for every family event. He was generous with his time and with his humor, with his blessings that he received through his life. And I'm forever thankful for being a presence in my life and encouraging and always showing up, which I've been told in my life that's like half the battle, is you show up. And Bill did, and I'm eternally grateful for him for that and for being a part of my life.
Georgia McCrae, Joy's sister. I met Bill through my sister Joy, and I think the most memorable thing I know about Bill, two things actually. The first is he loved Frank Lloyd Wright, loved him, and so he came to Milwaukee and we took a trip together, and we went to Taliesin and we drove all over Wisconsin and Illinois, and we looked at Frank Lloyd Wright houses, and we had to go stop at all of them and see them and have him look at them and take pictures, and he just loved Frank Lloyd Wright. And the second is my son is a phlebotomist in part because of Bill, because he used to talk to Bill all the time, Tim, about the healthcare system and everything, and Bill said, Tim, you need to go into something with the healthcare field. And so they talked about it, and my son decided to become a phlebotomist because of that. Thank you.
So my name is Cindy Baldwin. I'm married to Jordan, who is Aunt Joy's nephew. And we just got married like a year and a half ago. So I only met Bill 3 times in my life. And everything that everybody said today was absolutely true in those 3 times that I met him. I remember him being just very, I sat down and talked to him. He asked me, I actually ended up, I was born in Porterville, and so we had that connection, and he told me all about everything. And anything that I said that was something relatable, he connected it, and then we've been talking, and I was on the mission field for years, and so then he was talking about that, and I just felt he was gregarious and loving and open, and I had just kind of entered the family, and he just embraced me. And so it's a real joy to be here and to share his life with everybody, and I wish I would have had more time to know him better. So thank you.
Linda Jost. I met Bill years ago. Somebody introduced us, and I wanted to say that I valued his friendship mostly because he knew the Lord Jesus Christ. I too am a born-again Christian, and I wanted to say I wouldn't miss this funeral for the world. And Joy is a special place in my heart. She sang at my father's funeral, and she's an angel, and I just adore this family. They took me in because I was the only child of my father, who passed away 8 years ago. And they took me in for Thanksgiving and Christmas, and I was a part of their family. So this means the world to me, and I am honored to be here today.
Sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
My name is Douglas Zeborowski. I met Bill back in the mid-'70s. He was my pastor down there, and he encouraged me to read the scriptures. And so I got into the scriptures, and I was reading like crazy. And we used to kid around a lot, and I found something in the scriptures I thought would be great. And I go, hey, Bill, I know what I am. Like the Bible says, I'm the thorn in your side. And Bill looks at me and he goes, Doug, that was Satan. So in that, I learned context. You must know the context. And I know the only context that I have is a tremendous love for this man that I've known most of my life. He was also the best man at my first wedding. He wasn't my best man at my second wedding because I wanted that one to last. But every time I've seen him, even though we may have been separated for years, we were always one in the Spirit and one in the Lord. And I'll always love you, Bill.
Thank you.
My name's Julie Sobrowski. Used to be Julie Parks, remember? And I met Bill as a pastor at Kanaya Chapel in the early 70s. In 75, Bill and his family and me and my family went out to the Spring Valley area to start another church in a man's house, Ray Williamson. And I helped get that church going with Bill. And we started a school that year as well at the church site. And I was lucky enough, my first year of teaching, kindergarten, just gotten my credential, I had Aaron Wright as a student in my kindergarten class. And Aaron and I have remained friends ever since, and I love the whole family. I was at Bill and Joy's wedding. And coming to Bakersfield means seeing Bill, and I guess I won't be seeing him anymore when we come up here, but I feel that he will always remain with me, for sure. In my heart, in my mind, his spirit and his energy is still very active. So I love Bill, and I love the family. Thank you.
My name is Liam Wright. I am Bill Wright's grandson, and I just wanted to say that my aunt Kanan I loved her story about how Bill would encourage people so much. And I remember when I was about in the 5th grade, I was reading a book about William Shakespeare, and I was telling him about how, like, all these facts I learned from this book, and he was always listening whenever I told him. And I told him that I really love this book and I might want to read more about him. And so he goes off into whatever back room he has all these things in, and he brings me this small coin, and it's a little admission to a play. I'm guessing not real, but I always loved how whenever I told him something I was interested in, he'd always encourage me in some way. He'd tell me about how he believed in me, or how I'm gonna do great at whatever I think I can do. And I just really, I appreciated that.
So he was a real inspiration to you.
Yes. I'm very proud of my name, sharing my name somewhat with him, and I'm proud to be part of the Wright family. I miss him.
Okay, I'm Angela Morfin. I'm Joy's cousin, and the Morgan family loved Bill very much. And I have two little things I wanted to say. One is that he loved Isaiah's saxophone playing, and that's why Joy had him play, because he always loved his sax music and loved his playing very much. And they would come to some of his concerts because they appreciated his music, and that meant a lot to Isaiah. And then secondly, my second son, Gabriel, who's a film editor now in North Carolina, Bill helped him get his car because he needed a car. He had just graduated from Baylor, and we called up Joy, and Bill talked to the people, so they knew Gabriel when he came down, and they said, oh, this is the college kid. He went to Baylor. He's looking for a car. It's his first car. So they gave him a good deal, and that we owe that to Bill, because that wouldn't have happened without Bill. So we love him very much, and we're going to pray for you, Joy, in this road ahead now without Bill. But the joy is that we will see and be with Bill again.
You say your son Isaiah plays music? It's funny. Only a few people would know that'd be funny.
Okay, it's good to see you.
Angela, it's always a blessing to see you. Okay. Yep. Hi, I'm Bob West, the videographer. Such a joy to have known Bill. I first met him about 35 years ago when I worked with Bill Wright Toyota. And it's amazing, though, as I'm recording people today, how much new material I learned about Bill. Just because you know somebody for 35 years doesn't mean you really know him. And it's amazing, all the different people that showed up here today, the people that spoke at the service, and all the people that gathered at the reception that gave us little sound bites of memories of Bill on their perspective. It's just a real honor to be here, and Joy, blessings to you. You're such a wonderful person, and it's amazing how you two were able to get together and share a life together. Blessings always.